Welcome back to another episode of the MX Endurance Podcast, where we look at everything that's been happening in the world of endurance sports. My name is Tim Ford, and I am joined by James Bale. Welcome back to the podcast, James.
Oh, where's my series of nicknames, man? Come on.
I'm sick of the conversation. I'm sick of the questions about what does it mean? What is it all about? The penultimate legend, the sexy shepherdess, the sexiest voice in triathlon himself, Jimbo. Welcome back to the podcast, buddy. How you going?
I'm going all right, mate. I said I was going to throw you under the bus at the start of the episode, so I am doing well because, as you know, it's my birthday today. So I turned 37 this morning, so I'm feeling a bit old, to be honest. How are you, man?
Happy birthday, James. I did not actually realise it was your birthday at all. There you go. Happy birthday, mate.
Cheers, brother. How are you, man?
I want to give our listeners a peek behind the curtain, because about an hour before we hit record, obviously we're heading to St. George this weekend for the Ironman World Championships. And I sent you a video clip of Daniel Arif running through the trails of St. George. And I sent it to you, and you're like, this will be us. And I said, I want you to get content, a shot of me doing the exact thing. And I said, I'll even slow down so you can keep up. What was your response to me, mate?
Have you seen my response? Have you?
I've seen your response. I don't think it's probably not appropriate for this podcast.
Yeah,
if I'm honest,
it's not broadcast, so it's not a word we can say on air. It's the one word we're banned from saying. So no. My response will stay between us, mate.
See, listeners, how I cop this abuse. You see this abusive working environment that I have to exist in, because the sexiest voice, trust me, when the sexiest voice in triathlon throws some serious shade at you, it hurts. It hurts really, really bad, mate.
But what a video, and what trails we're going to be going to, because they look amazing, don't they?
Can you believe, mate, the next time we record this podcast, we're going to be in person. We're going to be able to hold hands while we record the podcast, mate. Like our preferred way of recording, to be honest. So,
when was the last time? The last time we did a podcast in person was
Bahrain.
December 2019, and
we
so
did
it was the
Christian
early
interview.
days. Yeah, it was the
Christian
early days
interview.
of the podcast, wasn't it? We were just feeling our way into the podcasting world.
Oh, man, do you remember we used to go like 2 months without doing one? It'd just be like,
Yeah.
Do a podcast?
Should we do a podcast? Sitting in my hotel room in Bahrain, sharing a microphone, passing a microphone backwards and forwards. But yeah, things have come on a fair way since then, eh?
So yeah, we're going to be. I'm flying out Saturday. You're flying out. I think tomorrow. You start your journey. It takes obviously from the UK takes a lot longer because you guys are a little bit behind the times. But yeah, mate, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff, and we've got a big race coming up, mate. But before we get to that, this podcast is the official podcast of MX Endurance, the world's premier endurance sports community, created by four-time world champion Chris McCormack. Jimbo, what's something you like about MX Endurance?
Well, as we head into the meat of the season, mate, and we're heading towards sub-7, sub-8, I think one of the best things about being an MX Endurance member right now is the sort of the exclusive and preferential access that they're getting to the sub-7, sub-8 challenge. You know, it's going to be one of the biggest events of the year, and MX Endurance get access to that without a problem or a hindrance. First
access, actually, they got preferential access because it is a ticketed event. Tickets are free. I had a few people actually messaging us asking questions about stuff. I was like, we went to talk to the Phoenix guys about their customer service on, but yeah, it's a ticketed. It's free to attend, but there's I think only 3,000 spots available.
Yeah, so get on it. We've got
a block for MX Endurance, and we're going to be doing some cool stuff around the event, getting you guys some really good access if you're keen on that. Because it's not just the 4 people at racing; it's their pacing teams, it's their VIPs that have got the VIP area. The stuff that MX normally get when we do an event that Mac is involved with. So people who went to Super League Singapore will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a good time, and we're both heading there. We're landing, I think, the Monday or Tuesday before the race, so we'll be there all week. I'm taking the bike, man. I'm going to get out on that course and do some sneaky laps.
Mate, I am bringing my TT bike, and I am going to go round and round that circuit a few times. You know, probably not as fast as the pacers or the athletes are going to go.
I thought you were going to say me. I thought you were going to say as fast as you, Tim.
Oh no, there may be fundamental differences between us on the swim and the run, mate. But on a bike, I can hold my own. Don't you worry.
Oh, mate, bring it. I am going to put you in a world of pain in St. George, mate. You're going to just be going, what did I do? I regret my life choices up to this moment. So
my power to weight is in a good place right now, and that's all it is. That's all it is. And I can go downhill like a rocket, mate. Don't you worry about me.
We'll see, mate. We'll see. I look forward to it. But I also look forward to riding in because I'm in Europe for like a month. I think we're doing. Going to do a race in Poland, then I'm there in sub, then going to go maybe Girona or somewhere in France for about 10 days. And we were both racing Elsinore 70.3 at the end of June. which I'm really looking forward to. I'm hoping to challenge a little bit of that inner Magnus Ditlev after his incredible performance. But we'll get to that later on the show, James, because the first thing we are going to talk about this week, mate, is the fact that Javier Gomez and Joe Skipper are officially out of the Ironman World Championships.
Joe Gomez? Joe Gomez. We just combine them.
Javier, yeah, maybe that's what we'll do. Joe Gomez. There we go. It's kind of similar. Javier Gomez, Joe Skipper. I got this from Sarah Wasner Flynn at Triathlete magazine. Javier Gomez and Joe Skipper, both legitimate contenders for the Ironman World Championships, have both revealed this week they will not be able to compete at the race after contracting COVID-19. Spain's Gomez, a multiple-time world champion at the Olympic distance, posted, "I managed to dodge the virus for 2 years, but eventually caught me. And even though I'm fully vaccinated, it's hitting me quite hard with high temperature, headache, sore throat, achy muscles. So in this situation, racing at the Ironman World Championships in 2 weeks wouldn't be either realistic or responsible." Gomez said that training had been going well and he plans to race the next Ironman World Championships in October. Meanwhile, Great Britain's skipper shared on Friday that he tested positive 2 weeks ago and he's been feeling fatigued ever since. "I'm still unable to train anywhere near like I normally would do or like, and I would need to do to be competitive at the World Championships. I feel if I was to line up in St. George, I wouldn't do myself justice and I wouldn't also run the risk of long-term damage and potentially writing myself off for the rest of the year." Gomez and Skipper are the latest major players to drop from the World Championship start list, with Jan Frodeno and Lucy Charles both pulling out last month, as well as Patrick Lang earlier this year. And James Bale, literally just before we hit record, you sent me this screenshot, which comes from Laura Philipp's Instagram, which says, "I wanted to be in St. George already, but I had to cancel my flight. It's like a nightmare, but I have unfortunately caught a serious cold, which is currently keeping me in bed with a high fever. After years of never being sick, I now seem to get everything at once. I can't put my disappointment into words right now. I still hope there might be a small chance for a start at the World Championships as I worked so hard for this for months. It is a battle between how fast I can recover versus how much time I have left to fly to the US and be healthy with enough power for the World Championships. Keep your fingers crossed for me. I will keep you posted." It's a lot to take in, James Bale. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a real shame when you start to see big names dropping out of races like this. Now, obviously, the environment we live in, the world we live in right now, COVID statistically has become less of a danger to people's lives because of the amount of the rate of vaccination and the amount of people that have had it and building up immunity. But it is rattling through the population at a fair rate, mate. The walls are closing in. It's every day you hear that someone else has got it and then they've just got a cold-like symptoms and they're recovering. So the world we live in, you're going to see this sort of thing happening at races where people start to not make the start line due to illness. And it's a real shame to see Javier and Joe having to confirm that they're out of the race because they would have added so much to the race. They would have been real players. Joe, we obviously worked with Joe, so it would have been brilliant to see him there. I think he'd have had a really, really strong race. And I was just really intrigued to see how Javier Gomez went because, like we said a few weeks ago, I was like, come on, man, roll back the years and have a good go on this. And then to just before we start record to see Laura Philipp's post on Instagram, that's a crying shame because we've commented for weeks that she's top of the rankings. She's a form athlete. She was going in and she would have been dictating terms throughout this race and being a key player within it. We don't know whether she'd have won or not, but illness is never a good reason for someone to be out of a race.
Yeah, exactly. We talked a little bit about this, about the Frodeno withdrawal, how that's going to probably impact Alistair Brownlee the most. This is probably the next one that I think you're going to see have a serious impact on that Alistair Brownlee because Javier Gomez is obviously a pretty good swimmer. So I think we're going to see, Alistair Brownlee's rapidly running out of allies for that swim, which means what's going to happen is he going to get out of the water completely isolated and not be able to pull away on the bike? That's what I'm now curious about is really what it's going to mean for the remainder of the field, because those Norwegian boys are just looking like a stronger and stronger chance. To me, it is really just sort of coming down to the Norwegians and Alistair if he's on form. Whereas the women's, I think I said this last week. There's two names I think we're going to see potentially win this: Laura Philipp and Kat Matthews. Laura Philipp's gone, and Kat Matthews on debut, that's suddenly a lot of pressure on Kat's shoulders. I think she's absolutely up to it. Again, full disclosure, we work with Kat, so we obviously think she's amazing. But that's not why I'm saying this. Purely looking at the form and stuff. I mean, there are still athletes like Annie Haug, Daniela Reef, all these people that you can't count out. And I think it is worth noting last week we might have come across maybe a little bit critical of Daniela Reef, which wasn't my intention. I think, she's an incredible athlete, and if she has found joy in other parts of her life, that's amazing, and she might just be racing because she loves it. Power to her. But man, the downside of this is it really is like, I'm getting a bit sick of this, mate. Like, it's just one after another of the names that I want to see race. Like,
I mean, we're going out there to watch a race, aren't we? And that race is getting whittled down day by day, and it's a real shame to see these contenders falling at the final hurdle. But we'll still see a good race out there. And like you say, the implications on the men's race, it's going to be interesting to see Alistair Brownlee come out of the water. Is he going to be able to pull away on that bike, like you say? And I think the names that are falling out, they simply strengthen the Norwegians' case.
Exactly. Like,
yeah. And on the women's side, it's in my head, like yours, Kat and Laura Philipp were the two athletes going in that I could pick to take this, and this leaves Kat, as in my mind, a strong favourite. Now, you can never write off the historical quality of Daniela Ryf or Annie Howe. You can't. But I'm a great believer in looking at the form of an athlete, not what they have or haven't achieved in the past, because you can get too sucked into that, just believing in the sort of...
I've done that a few times.
Yeah, especially in the world of pro cycling, you're like, oh no, this person's going to win it because that's who they are.
Exactly, I do this all. I mean, I don't, because I obviously am the biggest cycling fan. I don't fall for I don't make the same rookie errors that you do, James, being a fake fan. But triathlon, I do fall into that category, definitely.
As opposed to looking at actually what someone has achieved and what form they're bringing to something and making a decision based on that.
James, one of the things we've been doing the last few weeks, and I keep putting you on the spot, I know you hate it, but it's pick the podium. Now, because of these announcements, the podium, the choices for the podium have shifted a little bit. I think the last time we did it was probably Kat. I think you had Kat, Annie, and Sky. I think we your three.
Yeah.
So you have to pick so you got Kat and Sky. Who you bumping up, mate?
I picked Kat, Annie, and Sky, didn't I?
Yep.
So I kind of just stick with that.
I'm sorry, Kat, Laura, and Sky is who you had.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Then
sorry.
Then I'll. Yeah.
Did I psychically guess your new choice? Is that what? Are we so in tune that you're projecting your new choice across to me?
All right, then I'm going to say this. I'm going to say Kat, Sky Monch in second place, and Annie Howe rounding off the podium in third.
Do you know, I didn't realise this until today. And it's because I saw Ironman Australia is happening this weekend. And I didn't realise, but Sarah Crowley's not racing St. George. Now, the only reason I saw this is because she was on the start list at Ironman Australia. And that baffles me a bit, to be honest, mate, because she's had 2 podium finishes in Kona. We know she spent a lot of time in St. George last year. I spoke with Sarah last year. She spoke about how much she likes St. George. She sort of based herself there for a lot of last year. I'm genuinely surprised that firstly she's there and nobody's, again, talking about her lack of presence. Really flew under the radar for me. So that was a bit of a shock. So I'm going to go Kat, obviously. Who did I have last? I can't even remember, mate. It's so hard to keep up with who is and isn't racing.
Yeah.
Kat, Annie, Danny. Kat, Annie, Danny. There you go.
Kat, Annie, Danny. That's a nice.
Kat, Annie, Danny.
That's a nice way to say things. That rolls off the tongue very pleasantly.
No particular order. I don't know what the order is.
Are you adjusting your men's podium at all?
I don't think. No, it's still going to be the Norwegian. What did I have? I had Gustav, Alistair, and did I have Christian?
I can't remember what I said, let alone what you said.
Let's check the record. Let's get back to the tape. No, I'm not doing that. It's bad enough editing this podcast and having to hear our voices. I'm not going to go back and actually listen to it.
I still think Gustav is going to take it. I think I said he was going to win.
Unless Alistair's got it. If Alistair's got it, I think it's his. But I saw Gustav put out a post this week where he said he rode the course and he's like, all I say is I think this course suits me. I like that. I like that quiet confidence from Gustav. Yeah. Although I have that new bike of his is fugly, mate. I do not like or care for that new paint job.
No, it looks dirty, doesn't it?
It looks dirty, doesn't it?
I don't mind a bike being dirty when you've used it, but when you've cleaned a bike, it should look clean.
I know what we can have a little bit of a chat about, and I even got this in the doc. But we love a little bit of speculation on this podcast. I know you are the king of talking about things which you have no knowledge and putting an opinion out on the internet forever. But did you see the video this week of Christian Blumenfeld on his new bike that he's potentially using for sub?
You sent me the screenshot of that.
Yeah. What do you think?
I thought it was fucking ugly. I thought it was beyond ugly. I mean, it's got the similar front to my Shiv, yeah, but my Shiv looks nice. This bike has got like wider. It kind of looked like a mobility frame.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? That you'd use to help you walk along. It looked like one of those. I wasn't a fan.
Wasn't pretty.
What did you think of it? No, but I mean, athletes don't give a shit about aesthetics, particularly when it comes
Christian
to performance.
Blumenfeld is evidence of that, considering he wore the all-white tri-suit.
Yeah,
the Olympic.
Right.
Again, this guy would race naked if it made him go faster. Like, he clearly doesn't give a shit what the stuff he rides on looks like. I've heard whispers that it's like, what do they call it? You know, the old. I think Giant did one of these older bikes once. It's not like a traditional frame. It's like it's like almost
it's like a beam
mono, no, but not even a beam bike. Like the opposite almost. Where I don't know. I haven't seen a photo of it, but I've seen what I believe it might kind of look like, and it ugly. It ain't a pretty bike.
No.
So, do you think we'll see him on at St. George, or do you think it's a sub thing, or what do you reckon?
I can't imagine. Well, he might do. He might ride it in St. George. I wouldn't ride a new bike for a first race at a world championship.
Yeah, I agree.
But,
you would at sub 8 or you would at sub 7?
It depends. What I would do is I'd ride the world championships in St. George on a bike that I knew well and knew performed, and then I would spend a lot of time testing on that bike for the sub 8 for the sub 7 challenge, because the sub challenge isn't going to be race conditions. It's going to be a different type of environment. Yeah, so you don't need to do a race to get used to a bit of kit for that. You need to do controlled performance testing.
I'll be honest. People give us a bit of shit because we're very pro sub 7, sub 8. If Christian Blumenfeld rocks up on some god awful fugly bike and I'm not going to be very happy. No. I'm going to be a bit like, I don't know if I like this event anymore. I think we've maybe taken it a little too far.
Yeah. You want a remake of the old Miguel Indurain Pinarello with the funky artist paint job or something like that. Something really aesthetically pleasing.
It was interesting that he's Trinity silver, considering he's the gold medalist. I always find that weird. I'm like, mate.
Yeah, but I don't like. I've got to tell you, I'm not a fan of Olympic gold medalists turning shit gold that they use. I think it looks really tacky.
Nah, I'm up for it, mate. It's like, good on you. If you got it, flaunt it, baby. Do you like the world champions having the stripes though?
Oh fuck yeah!
What's the difference then? Well, that is a massive inconsistency in your beliefs.
I'm not a fan of the color gold, mate.
I mean, it is the color of your forehead, so you should be very. You should be right on board with it. You look like an Academy Award. Like, you are literally.
I've never had that comparison before, and I do.
You're welcome, mate. You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Let's move on, mate. The next thing is obviously. I say obviously because I know when I'm reading it, but there are listeners who have no idea. The Arena Games happened over the weekend, Jim, but it sounds like it was a bit more entertaining than the previous one. Try 24/7's John Leveson.
You'll notice I've taken it from John Leveson, but I've gone through and rewritten this for nice condensed reading for you, mate.
Is that because every week when I see I'm like, dude, chop it. This
is using John's information, but my own rewrite. So enjoy.
I'm genuine. Like, before we talk about, I'm going to watch this one. I just haven't running something over the weekend. I was with Chris over the weekend. He was saying like this was a ripper, like a real ripper race. So let's see what John Leveson has to say. Obviously, go to Try 24/7 if you want the full summary, or head to Super League Triathlon's YouTube channel to watch the full event. Cassandra Beaugrand from France produced the most complete display of racing we've ever seen in the format to totally dominate Saturday's Arena Games Triathlon series at the Olympic Park in London. With the fastest swims, record-breaking runs, and a powerful display of cycling that bodes well for her 2022 season prospects, she was in a different league from the start. Incredible performance. Stage 1, swim, bike, run. Beaugrand led out of the swim. Learmonth took lead on the bike. Potter had a good transition to be first on the run, but Beaugrand outran her with a record 2:56 for 1 kilometre to take the win. Let's move them. And again, don't forget, this is on those curved treadmills, which are harder to run on than just running outside.
And it's not a case of get up to speed quick. It takes real effort to get these things moving. So that 2:56 is, in real terms, if we were on a track, a lot quicker.
Well, we'll talk about quicker. Stage 2, run, bike, swim. Beaugrand did a 2-minute 45-kilometer run, which built a lead on the bike, and then she hit the swim with a 17-second lead to take the win. 2:45 on that treadmill, mate.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
I couldn't do that if my life depended on it.
No.
If somebody had a gun to my head, downhill, I'd probably struggle to hit 2:45.
Yeah, if you said to me, I'm gonna remove your ability to live unless you can run a 2:45, I'd be like, well, that's that then.
I'm done. How do you want to do this? How are we doing this? I'm not even going to bother. Let's just get it done. I think my fastest ever kilometer is sub 3 minute, and it was in a relay race, and I ran a kilometer downhill, and I think it's like 2:50 something.
Yeah, no, I
so
have
to
no
do
idea
that
what
on
my
that treadmill,
fastest, kilometer is, but it's not that. It's not
Stage 3, swim, bike, run, pursuit start. Beaugrand led start to finish, and she finished 30 seconds clear. So the final results: Cassandra Beaugrand from France in first. 32.5 seconds behind her was Beth Potter, who won the first one. Third, Jess Limont, 43 seconds behind. Fourth, Georgia Taylor-Brown, 109 back. And next up, we had Audrey Merle from France, 1.5 minutes back. Mate, Cassandra Beaugrand. I mean, I think we both have always thought that she's an incredible athlete. It's good to see her finding that real form again.
Yeah, it really is, because I remember standing next to you at Super League Singapore as her and Cassandra,
Katie
Zavirez had that sprint finish,
yeah.
And it was unbelievable. And her form since then has been sporadic. Yeah. She hasn't gone on to, it's been a funny couple of years. So let's not I don't think we can judge any athletes whose performances have been on and off for the last 2 years, because it's been bloody weird. But it's really good to see her coming in and doing something like this in an event and dominating like this, because it's like, yes, we knew you had this in you, and it's good to see it.
I remember. Do I want to say this one? I remember at the after party of Super League Singapore, after a few too many frothies, sitting with Cassandra Beaugrand and saying, "You're going to win the Olympics. I'm telling you, you're going to win an Olympic gold medal." And she's like, "No, stop it, no." And I'm like, "I'm not mucking around. I'm not hitting on you or anything. You are going to win the Olympics." That's how impressive that 2019 Super League series. She was so good. Remember, she didn't race the whole thing. She vanished for a couple of the races. She came, did the first few, dominated, went away, came back, and then she had that incredible sprint finish with Katie. I remember just watching her going, man, she is.
And you were, to give you some credit at that after party, you were talking about Paris, weren't you?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You haven't been disproved yet.
I was looking forward to Paris. In your career, Cassandra, you're going to win a gold medal.
But what a performance. I mean, it's not look, last time the Arena Games was on, last week, we were discussing it, and it was a bit one-sided. Beth Potter had come in, and there were some names we didn't know. But it's not like in this race there were names we didn't know. Cassandra Beaugrand, Beth Potter, Jess Limont, Georgia Taylor-Brown, Sian Rainsley. These are names that are well-known across the world as high-performing athletes. And Cassandra came in and did a number on all of them. In the first stage, to hit the treadmill after Beth Potter has in the lead, and then to run her down, big effort. 2
gold medals, a silver medal, and a bronze medal in that race, mate. It's not bad, is it?
No, not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Interestingly, if you look at Cassandra's stuff that she's been doing recently on her social media and things, she's been doing a lot of track running. You can see her doing a lot of actual track races, I think. It's clearly working for her, mate. That's, like I said, it's just so impressive. And Beth Potter was so dominant in the first, she's minutes ahead. And then she's had half a minute put into her. And again, we think of Beth Potter as the runner in short course racing. Cassandra's like, nope, I'm here.
Yeah. Because when, as a viewer, if you'd seen Beth Potter get to that treadmill first, you're just like, well, that's that. But for Cassandra to come in behind and overtake her on the Zwift run, bloody brilliant.
And she's an impressive athlete, Cassandra.
Yeah,
she
really is.
It's like everything's right in the world a little bit. Like when you see Cassandra starting to do these performances, good. And again, we got WTCS starting in 2 weeks? They're in Yokohama. Interesting.
Yeah.
GTB, a little bit off the pace. I'm actually surprised she's as far back as she is. It's looking good for Beth Potter for the overall thing, though. Hey, she's got a first and a second leading into Singapore, which is next weekend as well, same weekend as St. George.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, Cassandra Brogard obviously wasn't at the first race. So Beth Potter, if she can maintain that level of consistency, then yeah, it's looking good for the overall.
on to the men's now. Again, thanks to John Levinson, Try 24/7. Always go to their website if you want to see the full thing.
And
What's up, Chipper?
his rewriter James Bale.
James, you don't get credit, mate. If you would like
fucking
to
do.
read it, if you want to read it, you can get the credit. There you go. Make yourself sound smart. Then take it away.
Do you want me to read?
I defer to you, my learned colleague.
All right, cool. Justus Nieslag, 3 times he's raced before today with a record of first, second, and third. He really is the podium king. That sort of consistency doesn't happen.
Is that you or John?
That was John, yeah.
Oh, okay, damn. I was going to say it's really good writing, James. I was about to applaud you.
No, mine's the rubbish bit coming up in a minute. 3 times. I was going to start again then. That sort of consistency doesn't happen by accident. And his victory today at the Arena Games Triathlon Series, powered by Zwift London, was a richly deserved one. Using his cycling strength, he took control on stage 2 of the final and never looked like losing it. Stage 1, swim, bike, run. Yi took the win on the run with Nieslag just behind. Stage 2, run, bike, swim. Nieslag stuck with Yi on the run and built a 10-second lead on the bike. Nieslag gave himself a 16-second lead going into the pursuit start of Stage 3. Stage 3, swim, bike, run. Pursuit start. Nieslag extended lead to win by a clear margin. So the final results were Justus Nieslag of Germany in first place, Alex Yi of Great Britain in second at 29.3 seconds down, Nicolo Stada of Italy at 53.2, and Maxine Huber-Moosberger from France in 1:01 in fourth place. So
well done, mate.
I thought I did particularly well then. That was actually quite a nice name to read.
James Bale, ladies and gentlemen, well done, James.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate
Excellent summary. I think you deserve all the kudos for that.
Well deserved kudos. It's good to see Justus Nieslag doing this, man. I like him as an athlete. I like an athlete that has real bike power, and he did. I like particularly stage 2 where he gave it everything on the run, so he could stick with Yi, so that he knew he would be there to be able to extend that gap on the bike. Yeah, as opposed to Yi running off and then him using his bike to catch him and then it being a race on the swim. He was like, no, I need to really put all of my eggs in the run basket because I need to be with him when he gets on the bike.
Now, James, we both use Zwift a fair bit, so we understand a bit more of the logistics than maybe
It's changed. Have you noticed it's changed?
Oh, don't get me started. Don't.
I don't know how to use it anymore.
Don't get me started. That was me for about 15 minutes before I started my ride today. I was like, what the fuck is this? Where the fuck is my workout? Where the fuck?
Yeah.
Anyway. What's interesting about this one, because normally when they do these races, they have the draft feature turned on for the bike, where apparently for this race, they decided to turn that off. So there was no...
Yeah, it was draft free. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? And do you think, again, we talk about short course being draft legal. Why have they suddenly turned it off on Zwift?
Because on Zwift, the draft is exaggerated. And so that what they're trying to do is break up the field and show the athlete's individual quality. Because...
like non-draft racing?
Yeah. But the difference is that in a draft legal race in the world, the draft isn't as extreme as it is on Zwift. And so, if we started as a pack with these people, there is a chance that you or I could stick on the back of a pack of people in Zwift.
I mean, I could anyway, mate. I'm an incredibly good cyclist. I don't know about you.
There is a chance that on a downhill I'd go careering past them. But so yeah, that's probably why they've done it.
Did you see this? I think it was today. There's a Triathlon Planet, one of those accounts on Instagram that shares a lot of triathlon stuff. They put up a video and it's like Ironman corner, and it's the triathlete just goes in a corner and falls over. And then it's like time trialing, excellent corner, mountain biking, excellent corner, road riding, excellent corner. And it's like, yep, triathlon, man. We've got excellent bike handling skills.
Yeah, so I mean that's why they'll have done it. They'll have done it to so that those bikers aren't at a disadvantage, because a strong biker should be able to use that strong bike to their, as much as a strong swimmer should be able to use their strong swim, and a strong runner should be able to use their strong run, which they can in these events. But with the draft was making it too easy for everyone to stick together. That's my assumption, not having any knowledge on the inside.
Now, interesting to see Martin Van Riel was not back for round 2. I was under the impression that we were going to see him do all of these series, considering he had the luck that he had last year.
Yeah.
Do you think that first performance he was like, nope, I'm done with this. No, thank you.
Yeah, there's every chance, isn't there? I mean, look, like you say, we've got the WTCS series starting in a couple of weeks. So if you go to a race like this and have a blinder and are on strong form, then why not see it through? If you go to a race like this and find yourself struggling, breathing out your ass and thinking, oh, hang on a second, I've got some work to do before I can find my form, then why not retreat to a safe distance and get yourself to that level you need to be for the WTCS?
I heard that the number 8th Jeremy Brown from Canada did something like a 6.5 watts per kilo bike split for one of the bike legs too.
Yeah, but isn't
mental.
that normal? Isn't that that's what I do?
Yeah, but I don't lie about my watts on Zwift, mate. Like I actually set my weight accurately, so it's not like 20 kilos. So I'm riding 125, whatever.
I got my weight set as a 14-year-old netball player.
Yeah. I mean, if you've seen 6.5 easy, mate, I think you must be. But yeah, impressive. So definitely going to watch that one. It's good to see that they're sort of trying to find that, or finding that middle ground a little bit between the athletes that we're not as familiar with and the names that we want to see racing at this form of racing.
We discussed it last week, didn't we? But I need to see more names than we had at the first one, and it was good to see more names than we had in the first one at this one, because it draws you in a bit more when you recognize the people racing.
Now, Jimbo, we made a bit of an error last week on the podcast.
Oh, of course we did.
Or maybe you made a bit of an error last, because you're the one who prepared the doc, and you left out a preview of a race that was happening last weekend.
Did I?
Texas, the Ironman. We did not preview Ironman Texas, which happened over the weekend. But instead, what we're going to do is review what happened.
Yeah,
give a wrap-up of what happened. Is that what you were doing? You were just trying to give us a better chance to talk about it this week. We weren't going to burn all of our matches last week.
Did we not preview it? Did we not? I'm sure we did.
I don't think we did, mate.
Oh, we're bad. Triathlon podcast.
I was pretty out of it, considering I had that event that I was organising every week. Write in and let us know at bell.james85. Anyway, mate, Ironman Texas was an absolute blinder. What a race it was. Jonathan Turner, Try 24/7, has got the summary now, mate. Do I need to give you appreciation for this one too? Have you gone in and
I copied and pasted it, and then I cut some stuff out. So I think I probably did more work than Jonathan Turner on this one.
Jonathan Turner, mate. You hear what he's saying about you. As always, guys, head to Try 24/7. Give those guys some love. They do excellent work at keeping the triathlon world up to date. Ben Hoffman got the better of a thrilling battle with Magnus Ditlev to win an epic race at Ironman Texas on Saturday. The 38-year-old American finally made the decisive break in the final 200 meters to claim a famous victory, just 2 weeks before he would be on the start line at the Ironman World Championships in St. George. Richard Varga, the fastest swim time to lead out of the world, with Hoffman 4:46 back and Ditlev 4:52 back. At 80 miles on the bike, Ditlev was leading with a 1:38 advantage and then a puncture. Now, that's worth pointing. He got out of the water almost 5 minutes down and then rode to a 1.5 minute lead. So that's 6.5 minutes on the bike.
Yeah.
Then he got a puncture. By the time the field... and again, it took 9 minutes to get it sorted.
Yeah, you'll get there. Keep reading.
Okay. By the time the field reached T2, Laidlaw and Varga were virtually together at the front, but Ditlev was now 7:25 down with Hoffman right behind him. It was now a very different race heading on to the run. As they reached the halfway point of the marathon, Hoffman had moved into striking distance in a short space of time, and as he made the pass, followed soon after by Ditlev. The gap at 15 miles was just over 30 seconds, and by 20 miles, Ditlev was right behind the leader, stalking him. I like to think you added that little bit of spice.
Is that yours? No, I quite liked it. So
that was James Bell. That was James Bell. I thought that was. I could hear it in your voice. Twice as the pair went into the final 5 miles, Ditlev tried to inject pace to break Hoffman, but both times Ben covered it comfortably, and on they went, ever closer to the finish and still locked together. Hoffman and Ditlev were still side by side as they entered the very last mile of an enthralling battle. Then inside the 400 meters, Ditlev tried again to make a decisive break, and for the third time, Hoffman covered it. Ben clearly just had a little left in the tank, while Ditlev had finally burned all of his matches, and Hoffman it was who put in a final sprint inside the closing 200 meters to come home in front. Svensson claimed the final spot on the podium just under 11 minutes back. So in first place, Ben Hoffman, 7:57.58. Second place, on debut, Magnus Ditlev, 7:58.12. Third place, Jesper Svensson, 8:08.54. Fourth place, Cody Beals, 8:09.55. Jimbo.
Mate, what a race. I was watching this. From a campsite on my phone. Now, what a performance from Magnus Ditlev, mate. Because it did take about 9 minutes for him to get that puncture fixed. And so he ran into T2, ran out of T2, pretty much next to Ben Hoffman. Hoffman scarpered off, but then he caught him. He drew him back. and ran side by side with him to have the sprint and ultimately lose it by meters. But
20 seconds.
I mean, imagine if he hadn't had that puncher. He was 9 minutes ahead of him and he ran a 2:40.
It's funny. So the thing that obviously I think everybody now knows that Magnus Ditlev is an incredible bike rider.
Yeah.
A peek behind the curtain. So we work with Magnus, and one of the first meetings we ever had with Magnus, when we sort of try to get to know them, we work out the message and how we present our athletes to potential sponsors. Magnus was like, "Don't call me an Uber biker.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be called an Uber biker." And holy shit, a 2:40 marathon on debut from a guy who has famously been considered not a very good runner or loses it on the run. Christ almighty, this performance, I think I messaged you. I was like, Magnus is an Ironman athlete. Like, mate, he's got it at Ironman.
7:58.12 on debut, having lost 9 minutes by the side of the road with a puncher.
So 7:49, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, who knows the impact that would have had on his freshness of his legs, etc., etc.
Exactly, but also, the impact of chasing someone and running side by side with them to try and bring up your game. He would have been the chased athlete on that run. But if he could have brought that 2:40 game, then. But the beauty of this is that he now knows he can run a 2:40 off the back of a swim and a bike. He didn't even have the best swim that he's ever had. So he just
56. Was it 56, 52?
Yeah, I mean, well done to Ben Hoffman for the win. We're not taking that away from him at all. But I think the big story of this was Magnus Ditlev's first iron distance race, and coming in under 8 hours with a run like that, mate.
And he's been saying that he's pretty good. Like he's like, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a bit jet lagged, but the body's feeling good. He took his Kona slot, which I know he was a little bit on the fence about. He was more sort of just going to Texas to have a try and see where he's at. Wasn't convinced if he was going to go do Kona or not, but he's doing Kona now. And yeah, man, like excellent race. I was, again, not surprised because I think we both were huge. We're on the Magnus bandwagon, I guess, if you want to call it that. But it's really good to start to see that, like, he's gone. Like, we talk about athletes that get momentum. We've talked a lot about that over on previous episodes of the podcast. And he's another example of it. He was my pick for the most improved athlete last year. This is why. These are the sort of performances that are why I put him in that category, because he's building this momentum. And this race was like here I am, guys, and I'm not just a biker. Like 2:40 marathon on debut. Very, very, very impressive. And with that bike that he has, man, like, look out.
Yeah. And I was just bang on. And I saw there was an article out over the weekend saying, Ben Hoffman's bike split was faster than Magnus Ditlev's. And it's like, mate, you had a puncher. Do your research.
Exactly. Like, the footage of him on the side didn't look very good, though, did it? It's like, come on, Magnus. Come on, mate. Get on it. And I think what it looked like to me is that he taped his spare thing shut for aerodynamics, assuming that he wouldn't. And then when he needed it, you could tell he's like, God damn it, I can't get this thing open. I think you had to wait for neutral support to actually come and help him change the tire because he just couldn't access his gear.
No, it wasn't that. It was that it was a tear down the side of the tire itself. So he couldn't put a new tube in because it would have just gone again. So he addressed it and was like, well, I can't replace that. So he had to wait for neutral support to give him a tire.
Again, when you put that into it, I think it makes that finish even better. Hey, like,
yeah.
Most people would assume you lose 10 minutes or 9 minutes on the bike. That's your race over.
Because we were talking, you were asleep. I was talking to Kat during the race. She was like, Magnus is steaming this. He's got this. Look at it. And then it's 2 seconds after I got that message, I then checked the thing and I was like, shit, he's 7 minutes behind. How did that happen?
I think I saw I woke up to the message thread. I was reading what you guys were saying. I was like, this is a roller coaster. And then I went to check and it was done. I was like, what? Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, well done, Magnus. Good work, mate. Very impressive.
On to the women's race now. Still on Jonathan Turner. American star Jocelyn Mccauley posted a convincing victory in Texas. The 34-year-old came home with a long way in front of fellow American Lauren Brandon and Jonah Reiter of Switzerland. She produced a terrific bike leg to take control of the race and then continue to build on that lead to clinch victory on the run.
Now you'll see my little addition now. This is my little summary of the race because there wasn't as much to talk about. 2 lines, enjoy.
Brandon led out of the swim. Mccauley took the lead on the bike, never looked back. Ironman Texas results. Short, concise. I love it, mate.
Yeah.
Jocelyn Mccauley, USA, 8:58.13. Lauren Brandon, 9:10.46. Wow, she won by, what's that, 12 and a half minutes.
12 and a half minutes. Just unreal.
Third place, Joanna Ryder, 9:13.24. Now, mate, I don't really, Jocelyn Mccauley. I mean, she's a class athlete. We've seen her win a number of Ironman races. I know she was back last year after I think she gave birth to a child, I think. I've said that now. I hope I'm right. But again, good to see her back where she belongs on top of the podiums at a race like Ironman Texas.
Yeah, totally. I mean, a performance like that, when you turn up at a race like this and you win by 12 and a half minutes, there isn't a huge amount to talk about within the race. It doesn't give us much of a narrative to latch onto, but what a performance and what, strong work.
It's like the F1. I've watched the last two F1 races and they've been really boring because it's just been Leclerc off the front in Australia and he won by ages. And then this week it was Verstappen just off the front, won by ages. And I'm like, this was a bit boring. Not really what I was hoping for. And I mean, anytime that Verstappen wins a race, I'm always a bit unhappy. So anyway, this isn't an F1 podcast, mate. It's a triathlon podcast. So let's keep talking about triathlon because another race that we didn't preview last week was Challenge Gran Canaria. This is the race last year we saw Jan Frodeno have that incredible performance, and Nicholas Spirig also had the incredible performance. Nicholas Spirig was back on the start line, but it wasn't the Nicholas Spirig show. We're going to actually start with Jonathan Brownlee. Stuart Dick from Try 24/7, lights out for Brownlee. Johnny Brownlee had a tough day at Anfi Challenge Morgan Gran Canaria on Saturday. That's a long name for a race. We're just going to call it Challenge Gran Canaria. Finishing 9th behind Germany's Mika Nut. Brownlee was in contention throughout the swim and bike, but was unable to muster a challenge on the run, and in fact began to fall down the pecking order, much to the Triple Olympians' confusion. He said, "I'm not sure what I've learned today. I'm honestly a bit confused at the moment because I trained really well, did some long sessions. I felt brilliant, but today I got to about 3 hours and the lights just went out. I went from racing to surviving. I don't know if I didn't drink enough. I don't know if I've got a bug or something. You never quite know. I went from feeling okay, feeling I could be part of the race to, I'm not sure, I'm going to finish this." Brownlee exited the water in the lead group with Newt and Andreas Salversberg and maintained his position through the hilly 90-kilometre bike course. The swim was relatively comfortable coming from an ITU background, and then the first up of the bike was pretty on, a bit hard. I began to settle down and I felt good, and in the last 10 kilometres of the bike, I started to struggle a bit. I thought when I get on the run, I would come back around, but I really didn't. I had absolutely nothing. I only wanted to finish this race, to respect the race and the amazing support here and the hospitality. So I just wanted to finish, and that was a struggle. So the actual results, mate, Mika Nut, 3:43.36. Now, I believe he has run what is potentially the fastest half marathon in a 70.3 ever. Is that right?
I didn't
making stuff
know
up?
that. I don't know.
While I'm talking the results, can you look up his run split for me?
I can.
In second place, Clement Mignon, 3:45.01. Third place, Andreas Salversberg, 3:48.43. Fourth place, Leonard Arnold, 3:52.58. And then you've got all the way down in ninth place, Jonathan Brownlee, 3:57.30. I'll tell you what, mate, I wouldn't mind having an absolute fall apart on the run and come in under 4 hours. I think it's pretty good. While you're doing the men's, while you're finding that result for me, I'm going to keep talking to the women's race. Sarah Perez-Sala headed into the Challenge Canaria thinking the victory was impossible. 4 hours, 10 minutes later, she was lifting the winner's banner above her head. The Spaniard dominated the final stages of the race to earn victory by 5 minutes, 57 seconds over her nearest rivals, Els Visser of Netherlands, and a further 20 seconds ahead of long-time front-runner Lucy Buckingham. Now, Sarah Perez-Sala is the one who had that horrible crash at Challenge, was it Challenge Miami a few weeks ago, mate, where she had her head down, she just crashed straight into those witches' hats. So it's good to see that there was no serious damage and she's back winning, which is really, really good. The thing for me that is interesting, though, is Nicholas Spirig was not in the action at all. I can't even remember where she finished, but with sub-8 coming up in a few weeks, what do you think about that?
I wasn't listening. I was trying to find these results.
Did you find the results?
Yeah, I did, yeah. He ran a 1:05.48.
That's flying. Hey, that's seriously, seriously moving.
Very, very good pace. And what was the question you just asked me?
I was saying that Nicholas Spirig didn't really feature in this race, whereas she won it last year quite comfortably. With sub-8 coming up, I know she had that crash where she broke her ribs and punctured a lung. I think from what I was chatting with Chris about, he said that the biggest problem for her was her swim because she's obviously had the busted arm, so she couldn't swim as well. But do you think it's just a good training day for her, or do you think we should be worried?
I don't think we should be worried at this point. I think coming back from the crash and the injury that she had, it wouldn't be surprising for her to have this first race where she's just, orientating herself and getting herself back into that mindset of racing in the condition that she can find. So I don't think it's too much of an issue.
And then, like I said, the Sarah Perez Sala had that crash and challenge Miami. It's good to see that there was no actual harm done, that she's back winning the race.
Yeah,
Did it
too
quite
right.
comfortably.
Oh, she's a cool athlete. I like her a lot. I really
Same.
do. I like the way she goes about things, and I love her on the bike. So it's a real shame she had that crash, but crashes happen, and hopefully she'll come back stronger. And it looks like she has.
Now, this next thing we're going to talk about, mate, I saw this and I thought I want to talk about it because firstly, it's friend of the podcast, Tim Hemming, who's done the heavy lifting at 220 Triathlon, but it also gives us a bit of a peek into Alistair Brownlee because we've been talking a lot about what's going to happen with him at St. George and the sub, and is he got it, is he not, what's going on, what happened at Oceanside. And Tim put this article together. Again, the full article's on 220 Triathlon. As always, go there, check it out, give them the clicks, give them the love. But Brownlee back from illness and ready for St. George. Now, I've really chopped out what I thought were the sort of the main things that I wanted to discuss in this article. There's a lot more that Tim wrote. But having battled injury for much of the past few years, preparations for 2022 looked to have gone somewhat smoother, highlighted by leading a high-caliber field into the 2 final miles of 70.3 Oceanside in California at the start of the month. But set for a commanding win, the race changed dramatically in the closing stages as Brownlee was passed by eventual winner Jackson Laundry and faded to trail in fourth. When asked how he would rate the performance, Brownlee hinted at an explanation of the outcome. I'd give it a 6 out of 10, he said. Training has gone well, but I was very ill the week before the race. Considering that, I'm happy that I managed to get through it. There are still a few things I can improve on, but that's why I was keen to get a race in pre-St. George. Neither was he phased at being overtaken so close to the finish. I felt like I was hanging on all race, and it caught up with me in the last few kilometres. Brownlee is retaining the singular focus that led to victory in an astonishing 37 of 75 starts during his short course career. If I've learned anything in Ironman, it's race your own race, he said. It took me a week to recover from the Oceanside race and being ill, but I think I'm fully recovered now and training hard to prepare for St. George. I think it's a great opportunity to win an Ironman world title. It's impossible to know how the race will pan out, but I think it will be very different from another Ironman. The course and competition will make it unique. So there you go, Jim. But it sounds like he was a bit crook in the lead up to his Oceanside. And maybe that's why we saw him not have the performance we expected.
Yeah, man, it makes sense, to be honest. If he was rocking a bit of illness, then is sometimes when you're ill, you can push to a certain level, and then that illness will just take your form away in a moment. And that's kind of looks like what happened at. I just kicked my microphone. Looks like what happened at Oceanside, because he did just suddenly go boom on that run, and I think that was probably him buffering up against that illness that he'd had before the race, and it just sort of said, "Nah, stop now, bro." So I think it bodes well for St. George. I would really love to see an Alistair Brownlee on solid form, mate. I really, really would at St. George, just gunning for the win.
Well, the only thing that is starting to, because at the course and everything, I think I'm not worried about that for Alistair Brownlee. If he's fit and he's got it, he's got it. Looks like it's quite warm there, mate. Like, I've been checking the temperature because, again, if people aren't aware, we're actually heading to St. George this weekend, James. We
probably haven't mentioned that, have we?
Probably haven't mentioned it, but we're going to be in St. George. So I've been checking the temperature, but it's like mid-30s, like low to mid-30s most of the days. Like, mate. It's going to be warm, mate.
I'm proper fucked. Like, Devon complexion is gonna. I'm gonna be covering myself in Factor 50 and big hats.
I'm actually
bringing my cowboy hat as well.
I'm bringing my long sleeve tri suits because like 30 is a bit chilly for me. So I don't want to catch it. I don't want to catch a chill while I'm out in St. George, mate.
Yeah.
You think I'm joking? I'm literally going to be wearing long sleeve cycling jerseys a lot of the time. So
I will be basking in the sun like a snake trying to cool down, mate.
Now, did you decide is the white tri-suit making the journey?
I don't believe it's going to. No, I don't believe the white tri-suit is needed. I'm not actually bringing a tri-suit. Why are you taking tri-suits?
I'm not, but I would like you to bring the white tri-suit.
Oh, I thought you said you were taking your long sleeve tri-suits.
I don't own a long sleeve. What sort of person owns a long sleeve tri-suit? That has got to be you own a Jesus Christ. Is it the white one?
No, it's black. It's black one. Yeah.
Is it an actual tri-suit or is it a speed suit, like a
tri-suit? It's a tri-suit. Yeah.
Who the fuck makes a long sleeve? Who wears a long sleeve tri-suit?
I can't remember where I got it from, to be honest, but it's in my cupboard. I got loads of tri-suits.
Anyway, let's back to Ali. Let's talk about Alistair Brownlee, because as I sort of alluded to, like I'm desperately hoping that he's got it. I really want to see him at his. I want to see that level of Olympic polish applied to an Ironman distance race because I want to see him do what I expect him to do every time I see Alistair Brownlee race. Like, I don't like that I'm getting to that point where I am sort of being like, oh, he could. I want to be like, Ali's on the start list. Shit's going to go down. It's either all or nothing sort of thing that I always sort of think with Alistair Brownlee. Yeah, I hope that's what it is, mate.
Yeah, so I want to see him do it, man. I want to see him do it. I don't know. I can't remember who we were talking to over the weekend, but there was a conversation in one of our groups, and I was saying how nervous I get when I'm watching him run because of the way he bounces. Oh, was it okay? The way he bounces along, and I just can feel my own Achilles and calves hurting, and I'm just.
But he doesn't do that at the iron distance. You can watch him actually race long. He's. I still remember watching Nice 70.3 Worlds when Gustav won, and he had that longer, better stride, and it wasn't until Gustav started to pull away a little bit that you saw him start to get back that bouncy run style because you could tell he was trying to speed up. I actually think that's something that he worked on a lot. Like his longer distance runs form doesn't look as bouncy and toey as. Because I know what you mean. That toey, bouncy run he does make my Achilles ache a little bit just watching it.
Yeah, it makes me go. Oh. So, what I want to see is Alistair Brownlee fit, healthy, not having just had illness, and come in and have a blinder of a race. And I want to see those that are on the start line all at their very best fighting for the win here. And
then I just love the thought of then Ali lining up in Kona, the reigning world champion, against Frodo, who wants his title back.
Yeah.
And then, what a way. Because we all know that Ali sort of made Frodo relatively irrelevant at short distance racing once he started to do his thing again. Go and watch some of those races where Jan Frodeno was still doing short course and Alistair Brownlee was destroying everybody. I have never seen those looks on Jan Frodeno's face ever. Like, he is in the locker. I just want to see that. That'd be so good. You can tell I'm such a geek for this shit.
It would be good.
The next thing, James, you put this in the doc, and I'm actually going to let you lead the one on this because I don't know. I have no idea what it's about. So you can take it away.
Danielle Arif did an interview with Bob Babbitt, and there's some interesting quotes in here.
She has time for interviews.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. A bit of time for Bob.
She's not training too hard, apparently. She's got time for some interviews. Interesting.
And so I thought off the back of our conversation last week, you touched on it a little bit, that we'd been a bit critical, unintentionally critical probably, of Reef, because it wasn't really a criticism. It was more of an observation that her form hasn't been where it is, hasn't been where it has been in the past. And look, she's found some balance in her life outside of triathlon, and maybe she's just doing racing because she loves racing, and the form may or may not come back. Who knows? But all power to her. But this interview was interesting because she was talking about St. George, and she said, "I'm a bit scared that the race is going to be so hard, but I'm also really looking forward to it. I'm also thinking, oh my God, how am I going to walk the next day? Because I think this race is going to destroy everyone badly. I'm also praying for my legs, especially because it's not like the season's over. The season's just getting going. When you're in the race, it's the race. And I try not to think about wherever we are in the season. It's the World Championship, so I'm definitely going to give it everything I have. I definitely want to make sure, of course, my fans and I want to make sure my course. Well, I definitely want to make sure, of course, my fans and my country proud. And of course, also the preparation I put in and all the people who've helped me with it. You want to embrace it. Then I will raise for that race, and then whatever happens after, we'll see."
Take a moment.
Yeah,
slow down.
I got
enunciate.
I got pickled in myself then, didn't I? I like her approach.
You did it, Tim.
I did, yeah. I like her approach. I think it's because she's obviously not speaking in her first language, so the cadence of her sentences put me off my own and made me think that I'd made a mistake. I tend to blame other people when I make mistakes.
Okay, good.
I like how she's approaching St. George, and I like the fact that she thinks of it as a race that's going to be hard and is going to destroy everybody, because that's what we want out of World Championships, isn't it? We don't want them to not do Kona and then take it somewhere where it's going to be an easier experience. We want to know that the athletes are looking at this and thinking, "My God, this is going to be difficult."
I'm just reading this. I'm reading on. And one of the things is she used to be good at triathlon.
I'm getting there, but yeah, carry on. Go on.
Despite winning 5 of her 7 races in 2021, Reef joked that even her own godson was left questioning her abilities to return to the top of the sport. It's actually funny because my godson, I think it was last winter, he introduced me to a friend of his, and he would say, "Yeah, this is my godmother. She used to be good at triathlon." That's brutal. That's brutal. And it's like, yeah, well, okay. I know at this point it's true. I mean, we haven't had a world championship since almost 3 years, and that was the one I missed. It's been 4 years since I had a really good race. So it was just funny how little kids they interpret it. The situation is a little bit different, but it was funny. I had to laugh. I love that she used to be good at that. Man, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Poor Danny.
That's a solid bruising from the mouth of babes, isn't it?
The health stuff, though, is interesting, hey, that she basically said she's not sure if it was COVID or something, but she had really big problems with the immune system and breathing, lungs and heart, and it was really throughout the whole year. She didn't actually manage to do the training she needed to do, and it was a bit frustrating because she was motivated and there were races again on the horizon, and she couldn't do the training which was needed. That's the other thing that's worth considering, hey, is that maybe that sort of explains things. We have been a bit like, what's going on with Danny? Maybe she had COVID and she's had those longer term things. Like Joe has said, the reason he's not rushing back to get ready for St. George is because of the potential for those long term effects afterwards from rushing back.
Yeah, and
maybe that's what happened with Danny.
We're all living in a world where we've got this new thing kicking around, and if you're an elite athlete, who knows what the best approach is once you've had COVID? Can you start training quickly, or is there going to be long term lingering effects? It's the roll of the dice, and so yeah, I think definitely a bit of space and time to get back to her true self is needed here.
I'm happy to read that she's excited about St. George. Like that to me is a really that makes me confident, you know. And again, I'm sure she's sitting there going, "Oh, phew, Tim's confident. That's all that matters." But like to hear that she's actually excited about the race, to me tells that like the headspace is there, because we've sort of been wondering if she's still interested or whatever. But it's very good to hear that she's actually like G'd up for this race. That's good. Again, I want her to do well. Daniela Ryf is such a champion. So, Jimbo, this next thing I put in is especially for you because I know how much you love records. Now, you don't need to worry. It's not about dressed as a vegetable or it's not Everesting. This one's actually just a pretty impressive record. I got this from Romy Louise von Schoenveld at Try Today, and that's Alexander Sorokin breaks the world 100 kilometers. A very nice long run. Yesterday, Lithuania's Alexander Sorokin broke yet another world record. This time he ran the fastest 100 kilometers ever as he clocked an unofficial 6 hours, 5 minutes, 40 seconds. He ran that monster distance during an event, the Centurion Running Track 100 Mile in Bedford in the United Kingdom. With this impressive performance, Sorokin sharpened the previous world best set by Japan's Naoya Kazami in 2018. The Japanese athlete used 6 hours, 9 minutes, 14 seconds to reach the 100K. So that's 4 minutes better. To give an idea of that pace, Sorokin managed to push for more than 6 hours. He ran 3:39 per kilometer or 5:53 per mile. That saw him run a marathon in 2:32:33, and he completed the first 50 kilometers in 3 hours, 1 minute, 50 seconds. A very nice long run, he said on Instagram as he shared some of his splits. Earlier this year, Sorokin already broke the 100-mile record. The ultra athlete then used a time of 11 hours, 14:56. That comes down to a pace of 4:11 per kilometer or 6:44 per mile. He also ran the long distances with 12 and 24 hours for 170 and 309 kilometers, respectively. It's not bad.
That's mental quick, isn't it?
It's mental.
What's he running? 3:39 minutes per kilometer for
100 kilometers.
66.6 miles. That's just mental.
That is, again, let's just wait. That is a 2:30. That is a 2:31 and a bit marathon. Back to back to back to back.
Yeah, the other day I went out for my first 5K run for ages because I'm obviously recovering from a broken ankle, and I was running along by this towpath thing, and I was like, and I started pushing it just to see what I could do, and I was running 4:30 per kilometer, and I was like, it feels quite swift. You know, this is quite nice. He was running a minute quicker than that for 100 kilometers.
So just for you were running 4:30, and it felt swift.
Well, just because, I haven't run for a long time, I was just testing my ankle a little bit.
I am going to have to run slow in St. George, aren't I? Jeez Louise.
Don't you worry about me, mate. My running is not comparable to anyone's at the moment.
Fair enough.
But my bike will demolish you. But this guy, very impressive. Very impressive. Well done. It's not often you put a record in the deck, and I'm excited. At least he wasn't dressed as a cabbage. At least he wasn't running 10-minute kilometers dressed as a beetroot just to get a record.
I thought you'd appreciate this one. But Jimbo, it's time for the next part of the show. Take it away.
Welcome to the down low on the PTO. Now, this week, mate, there hasn't been a huge amount of news coming out of the PTO of late. I think, with St. George happening, they've been kind of flying under the radar a little bit. But what I thought I'd ask you is, do you think the fact that the PTO rankings exist, and this is the first World Championship, long course iron distance World Championships we're going to have since their existence, do you think the fact that the PTO rankings board exists gives us a different picture and a different take going into a race like St. George, and allows us a deeper understanding of where people are?
No.
No?
You know why that is?
Go
Because
on
I was
then.
sitting there looking at it, and it's Laura Philipp potentially out.
Yeah,
Lucy
I
Charles
know.
out.
I knew you'd
Danny,
say that.
yes. Taylor out. Annie, yes. Kat, yes. Emma, I don't know. Sky, yes. Jeannie, I don't know. Paula, I don't think so. Holly, I don't think so. Nicola, no. Heather, yes. Like, it's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? Because it feels like 3/4 of them aren't even going to be there.
Yeah, agreed. And on the men's side, we've got Gustav Eden, he's racing. Jan Frodeno is not. Lionel Sanders is. Daniel Beckergaard is. Sam Long is. Patrick Lang isn't. Joe Skipper isn't.
Joe isn't.
Jackson Laundry isn't.
Is Jackson? I don't know, actually.
No, I don't know. Ben Canute, obviously
I don't even
not.
know if he's done an Ironman.
No.
Nope.
And so,
I don't think so. Yeah.
And you
who's
don't...
in 12th? Who's ranked 12th?
Kristen Hodenhag.
Who? Sorry?
Christian Hogenhag.
Oh, you got better. Okay.
Have I butchered that in the past, have I?
Yes, mate. We had a very good laugh about you going hooga hug.
But another interesting aspect of their website, which I thought I'd raise,
like this. This is what I like.
Is the maximum
Points.
the maximum points, yeah, for who's scored the most points at whatever race or event they've done. Now, I looked at the men's and the women's, and Chrissy Wellington, is still at the top of the women's maximum points scored for her Challenge Ross in 2010. That's cool, man. I like that.
130 points.
Yeah.
What ridiculous! And then there's the women's points are a lot bigger than the men's. Hey, like the highest women's race is 130, and then Daniela Reif 129, Daniela Reif 128, 128, Chrissy 127, 126, 126, 125, 124. Which is 2019 Lucy Charles, 124, 121. Like you've got to go a long way down before you even get to like under 120. Whereas the men's, number 117.
Yeah, so the women's top scorers, Chrissy Wellington, Daniela Reif, Chrissy Wellington, Daniela Reif, Annie Haug, Daniela Reif, Lucy Charles Barkley, Chrissy Wellington. So, I mean, lots of repeats for Daniela Reif there. And on the men's side, it's Frodo, Lang,
Patrick,
Sanders, Kienle, Blumenfeld, Kienle, Lang, Alexander. And so it just goes to show why the top performers are where they are. But I thought it was interesting. Gustav is he's at least 10 points behind Frodo in terms of top scoring. But through consistency alone, he's clawed his way up to number 1 in the world.
I guess if you look at Frodo's, 2016, 2019, 2015, 2019, 2017, 2018, 2017, 2017. The first one, the recent times, is Christian's Cosima last year, which is only 109.
Yeah.
And then you've got Gustav 221. So that's what I mean. It's more. I mean, people say that Alistair Brownlee doesn't have it. His Ironman Western Australia is on that list with 106.97 for his Bustleton, where he did the 746. Like, I think he can do an Ironman pretty well, mate. So,
yeah. I think Alistair Brownlee's definitely one to watch going into this George race. I'd like to see Gustav and Brownlee racing it out.
Do you know an athlete we haven't spoken a lot about St. George, which I don't actually understand, considering I think we're two of his biggest fans, is Daniel Beckergaard.
Yeah, agreed. What are your
thoughts about his prospects?
I think he has every chance of being up there in the mix in this race. Well, I think he will be in the mix. I think he has every chance of being a contender for the win. We're actually going to catch up with Daniel Beckergaard next week, aren't we, for a chat when we're in St. George? Probably go for a coffee and a record with him. And so we'll ask him directly what he thinks his chances is. But if Daniel won this race, mate, I wouldn't be surprised.
Same. I think that's that conversation we had last week. Hey, Daniel's an athlete. Would I be surprised if he won? No. Podium? Absolutely not. Like I'd be more surprised if he won than Podium. I think he's like very much a contender for that Podium.
You know who I wish was racing this race?
Tell me, Frodo.
Magnus Ditlev, mate.
Yeah, me too. I wish Magnus was come on, Magnus. I know you. I know you listen, mate. It's not too late to get on a plane, jump back, mate. After that performance, the sponsors are going to be begging for you. Come, we'll walk you around. We'll push you out in front of us like a piece of meat, and we can get them all chirping around you.
Don't need to worry about accommodation. You can just sleep in our kitchen.
Mate, I think you give him the bed and you sleep in the kitchen. He's our star athlete. So
no.
James Bale, you know what? If you want to be in St. George with us next week, you need to head to mxendurance.com/podcast, where you can sign up for our podcast membership for as little as $3.40 a month. It's why we're going to St. George, because of the support of our fantastic members. It gets you access to bonus monthly episodes we record with Macca. I've got to do one this week, actually. Thanks for reminding me, podcast. Partner discounts, a whole lot more. As I said, we're going to have a crew in St. George. It's going to be epic. mxendurance.com/podcast. James Bell, if they want to find out other things, what do they need to do?
If you want to find out more about MX Endurance, head to mxendurance.com or search MX Endurance on Facebook or at MX Endurance on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to follow me, I'm at Bale.James85 on Instagram, or you can follow Tim at T414 on Instagram. Jump onto iTunes, give this show a review. If you can do it in the podcast app, it really helps us out, and it's super easy. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend, help us grow. If you've got any comments, suggestions, or criticism, send an email to podcast@mxendurance.com.
I also want to thank, we've actually had a bunch of people sending emails through saying, hey, I'm going to be in St. George. Let's catch up. So I'm trying to get back to everybody. If I don't, I'm sorry, but I'm sure we'll see you around.
Yeah, if anybody sees us, come and say hello.
Yeah, absolutely. Also not sure how we're going to be going for the format, because we're not going to necessarily just put out one episode next week. We'll probably do things a little bit sporadically, but I don't know if we're going to have everything video. We'll still do our episode on video, but I don't know about the little, like if we're out at a cafe with Daniel, I'm not going to pull out a camera because that would be embarrassing. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear, but there'll definitely be some content for you guys next week. So until next week, James Bale, until we see each other in Las Vegas, cheerio, mate.
Baby. Cheerio.